Preppers spend thousands on gear they'll never use. Meanwhile, they throw away items that could actually keep them alive. Military Survival Doctrine, FM 21-76, SERE School, the Ranger Handbook. These programs don't teach soldiers to shop. They teach soldiers to inventory every material by its physical properties, not its store label. One item in your bathroom medicine cabinet was originally adapted from a World War I battlefield wound packing concept. And it still works. Tonight, I'm giving you 13 common household items with specific military-validated survival applications, measurements, burn times, dosages. You can verify every single one before you go to bed. After this, you'll never look at your junk drawer the same way again. Item 1. Tampons. Sterile compressed cotton in waterproof packaging. That's not a hygiene product. That's medical-grade material sitting in your bathroom cabinet. The original concept traces back to World War I. Battlefield medics needed something to pack narrow puncture wounds fast. Compressed cotton worked. Combat medics have used tampons to pack wound channels ever since. Pull one apart, you get a fistful of dry, sterile cotton fiber. That fiber is tinder. It catches a spark faster than most commercial fire starters. Stuff it loosely into a container with small drainage holes, and you've got a crude water pre-filter. It won't purify, but it strips sediment, insects, and particulate before your purification step. Soak it in cooking oil or rendered fat, and it becomes an oil lamp wick that burns for minutes. One tampon, fire starter, water pre-filter, lamp wick, wound packing, 4 functions from a single item that weighs almost nothing. Highest utility to weight ratio of anything on this list. The civilian mistake is embarrassment. You walk right past this in the store because of what the label says. The trained response is recognizing that you're looking at individually wrapped, sterile, compressed cotton with a built-in applicator for insertion into tight spaces. That is a field medical supply. Cost: a few cents per unit. I've put together a complete guide on survival preparedness you can print and keep even when there's no signal. First link in the description. Item 2, duct tape. Military designation, 100-mile-an-hour tape, 60 yards per standard roll, roughly 26 pounds of tensile strength per inch of width. That's not craft supplies, that's structural material. Bandage, blister cover, splint reinforcement, waterproof seal over a compromised shelter joint, rope reinforcement when wrapped around cordage, patch material for torn packs, cracked water containers, and broken boot soles. One roll replaces adhesive bandages, medical tape, seam sealer, and emergency repair kits you'd pay $40 to $60 to assemble separately. Here's what matters. Duct tape is one of the first items to sell out in every documented disaster response. After every hurricane, every ice storm, every grid failure, the shelves go bare within hours, not days, hours. Civilians buy one roll and throw it in a drawer. Veterans carry 3. 1 in the pack, 1 in the vehicle, 1 at the fixed location. You should have at least 2 rolls staged right now. Total so far, under $10. Item 3, steel wool, grade 0000, the ultrafine stuff. Take a small pad of it and touch it to the terminals of a 9-volt battery. It ignites. Every time. Wet conditions, windy conditions, doesn't matter. The physics are simple. Thin steel fibers have extremely low thermal mass and high surface area. Electrical resistance heats them past their ignition point almost instantly. This is taught in military survival courses. It's one of the most reliable ignition methods that exists outside of a dedicated fire starter. Most people buy $60 ferro rod kits with magnesium scrapers. A bag of steel wool and a 9-volt battery cost under $3 combined. Same result. More reliable in adverse conditions. Steel wool also functions as an abrasive cleaner for cookware and tools. Stuff it into gaps around pipes or foundation cracks, and it becomes a pest barrier. Mice can't chew through it. Packed tightly around small electronics, it serves as crude Faraday cage material. Fire starter, cleaner, pest control, electromagnetic shielding, under $3. Total so far, under $13. Item 4, garbage bags, not kitchen bags, contractor grade, 3 mil thickness or greater. That distinction matters. 3 mil contractor bags are vapor barriers. They're structural material. Cut a head hole and 2 armholes. You've got an emergency poncho that actually blocks wind and rain. Lay one flat. ground cloth that keeps moisture from wicking into your clothing or sleeping setup. Seal one around your torso under outer layers, and you've created a vapor barrier that retains core body heat in freezing conditions. Spread one across a depression in the ground with a small weight in the center and a collection container beneath. That's a solar still. It pulls moisture from the soil through evaporation and condensation. String one between trees with the opening angled into a collection vessel, and you're harvesting rainwater. A single 55-gallon drumliner collects several gallons of rainwater overnight. The Military Survival Manual lists plastic sheeting as one of the highest priority improvised materials. Not suggested. Priority: emergency poncho, ground cloth, vapor barrier, solar still, rainwater collector, wound wrap, waste disposal, shelter reinforcement, one item, 8 functions. A pack of 10 contractor bags costs around $10. Total so far, under $23. Item 5, bleach, unscented liquid sodium hypochlorite, 6 to 8.25% concentration. Read the label. That concentration matters. 8 drops per gallon of clear water, 16 drops if the water is cloudy. 30 minutes of contact time. You now have drinkable water by EPA guidelines. Same base chemical used in municipal water treatment plants. One 32-ounce bottle treats roughly 3,800 gallons. Say that number again. 3,800 gallons from one bottle that costs a few dollars. Commercial water purification tablets run $20 to $30 and treat a fraction of that volume. The civilian mistake is buying cases of bottled water, 40 pounds per case, limited shelf life, takes up massive storage space. One bottle of bleach in a clean container outperforms an entire pallet of bottled water. Key limitation you need to know: liquid bleach degrades roughly 20% per year. It loses potency sitting on your shelf. Date your bottles. Rotate annually. Always keep the newest bottle forward. Total so far, under $26. Item 6, condoms, non-lubricated, unscented. A single non-lubricated condom holds roughly 1 liter of water when carefully filled. That's documented in military survival references and some SERE curricula. Waterproof storage for matches, tinder, small electronics, wound dressings. Anything that can't get wet goes inside a condom and gets knotted shut. Stretched over a rifle muzzle, it keeps debris, mud, and moisture out without affecting ballistics when fired. Troops have done this from World War II through Iraq. Cut one open and you've got rubber material. Improvised rubber bands, slingshot pouch, tourniquet material in absolute emergencies. A box of 12 costs a few dollars, 12 waterproof containers, 12 liters of emergency water carry capacity. The civilian mistake is the same as the tampon. You let the label dictate function. Trained personnel see latex, waterproof, elastic. High tensile strength. The material properties are what matter, not the packaging. Total, so far, under $30. Now pay attention to this one. Item 7, crayons. This is the one most people walk right past. A standard wax crayon burns for approximately 30 minutes. 30 minutes. One crayon. It's paraffin wax with pigment, a short, thick candle with a paper wrapper that functions as a wick. Light the tip of the wrapper. It catches. The flame melts the wax. The wax feeds the flame. Steady, consistent light for half an hour. Now, do the math. A box of 64 crayons, 30 minutes each. That's 32 hours of emergency light, 32 hours, from a box of crayons that costs under $4. Go price dedicated emergency candles right now. You'll find them running $8 to $12 for roughly 20 hours of burn time. A $4 box of crayons gives you 32 hours, 12 more hours for a third of the price. This is widely circulated military lore, sometimes attributed to Marines, and it's been verified in practical testing. You can test it tonight. Take one crayon out of the box, light the wrapper at the top, time it yourself. But crayons aren't just emergency candles. Rub a crayon hard across fabric weave and the wax fills the gaps between fibers. You've just waterproofed that section of fabric. Rub one along a stuck zipper track. Lubrication. The wax reduces friction and frees the mechanism. Mark surfaces for navigation, signaling, or identification. The pigment is visible on wood, concrete, metal, and stone. 64 crayons, 32 hours of light, waterproofing material, lubricant, marker, under $4. Total so far, under $34. That is the equation that should change how you look at every item in your house. Item 8, dental floss, 55 yards per container. That's 165 feet of waxed weather-resistant cordage. Roughly 5.5 pounds of tensile strength per single strand. That's not string, that's utility line. Fishing line, tie a hook to it and you're catching protein. Snare line for small game. Emergency suture material, it's waxed, it's strong, and it's thin enough to pass through a needle. Shelter lashing for lightweight structures. Tripwire for perimeter awareness. Gear repair thread for torn packs, ripped fabric, or failed seams. Braid 3 strands together, you've just tripled the tensile strength. Braid 6 and you're approaching 30 pounds of holding capacity from dental floss. Military survival doctrine consistently identifies strong, thin line as one of the most critical and most overlooked resources. A dedicated survival cordage kit costs $15 to $20 and gives you less material. One container of dental floss costs a couple dollars. Total so far, under $36. Item 9, aluminum foil, 75 square feet per standard roll. Name. Near zero weight, stores completely flat. Mold a sheet around a stick frame and you've built a cooking vessel that holds over an open flame. Shape a section into a concave dish, polish the surface, and you've got a signal mirror visible for miles in direct sunlight. Wrap food in it and bury the package in hot coals. Ember cooking, no pot required. Line the interior wall of an improvised shelter with foil, reflective side, facing inward. It bounces radiant body heat back toward you instead of letting it absorb into the wall material. That's a meaningful difference in overnight temperature retention. Wrap foil around a small antenna and shape it into a parabolic curve. Directional antenna booster. Documented in field communications improvisation. Wrap small electronics in multiple layers. Faraday shielding. Military fieldcraft prizes, reflective material for signaling, thermal management, and electromagnetic protection. One roll costs about $5. Total so far, under $41. Item 10, baking soda, 1 pound box, under $1, indefinite shelf life when kept dry. Antiseptic wash for minor wounds. Dentifrice when you're out of toothpaste. Throw it on a grease fire or an electrical fire. It smothers the flame without spreading the accelerant the way water does. That's critical. Water on a grease fire makes it worse. Water on an electrical fire can kill you. Baking soda handles both. Leavening agent for improvised bread if you've got flour and a heat source. Deodorizer for gear storage, waste areas, and clothing. Antacid for digestive distress. Cleaning abrasive for cookware, tools, and surfaces. Hygiene, medical, fire suppression, cooking, cleaning. One item covers 5 categories. Name a single commercial survival product under $1 that fills that many gaps. You can't. The expensive alternatives cost 10 to 15 times more and cover fewer functions. Total so far, under $42. Item 11, paracord. 550 paracord. 550 pounds of tensile strength. Same type used in military parachute rigging. This is the standard by which all survival cordage is measured. Cordage is ranked in military survival doctrine as one of the 5 most critical resources. Right alongside water, shelter, fire, and food. Not below them, alongside them. Shelter lashing. You can build a full ridgeline shelter with a single length of paracord and available timber. Snare construction, tourniquet material, gear repair, perimeter trip lines for security. If you don't have paracord staged, your bootlaces are the backup. Most quality bootlaces run 3 to 4 feet and carry meaningful tensile strength. They're already on your feet. You don't have to go find them. The civilian mistake is owning $500 in camping gear with no dedicated cordage. Cordage holds your shelter together. It secures your food cache off the ground. It gives you the ability to build, bind, and secure. Without it, your options collapse. A 100-foot hank of 550 paracord costs under $10. Total so far, under $52. Item 12, chapstick and petroleum jelly. Take a cotton ball, coat it in petroleum jelly, light it, it burns 4 to 5 minutes. A clean, steady flame hot enough to ignite damp kindling that a match alone would fail on. This is taught in military survival courses. It's taught in every credible wilderness survival program. The petroleum jelly slows the burn rate of the cotton and intensifies the heat output. Your match gives you 5 to 10 seconds of flame. That's not enough to light wet wood. A petroleum jelly cotton ball gives you 4 to 5 minutes. That's the difference between a fire and hypothermia. Petroleum jelly is standard issue in some military cold weather kits. Skin protectant, prevents windburn and frostbite on exposed areas. Moisture barrier for wound care, keeps a dressed wound from drying out or sticking to the bandage. Lubricant for stuck tools, frozen zippers, stiff mechanisms, rust preventative for blade edges and metal tools. Chapstick carries the same petroleum base in a pocket-sized applicator. Fire accelerant, skin protection, wound care, lubricant, rust prevention, under $5 for both. Total so far, under $57, item 13. Pantyhose. This is the final item, and arguably the most underrated survival material in any household. Nylon, high tensile strength, extreme elasticity, fine mesh weave, rot resistant. Stretch one over the opening of a water container and you've got a pre-filter that catches sediment, debris, and insects before your purification step. In older vehicles, a nylon stocking can serve as an emergency fan belt. That's not improvised folklore. It's documented in military vehicle maintenance manuals. Temporary fix gets you to the next point, doesn't get you across the country, but it gets you moving when the alternative is staying put. Mosquito netting. Stretch pantyhose over a frame around your sleep area and you've reduced insect exposure dramatically. Tourniquet material. The elasticity provides consistent compression. Cut them into strips and you've got cordage with stretch. Ventilated food storage net that keeps insects out while allowing airflow so contents don't mold. Most people don't even consider this item. That reaction is the entire point of this list. The real survival advantage isn't the item. It's the ability to look at a material and see what it does instead of what it's called. Total. Under $60, 13 items, over 50 specific survival functions, $60, and the ability to see material properties instead of product labels. That's the entire gap between trained and untrained. I've written up a full preparedness guide that goes deeper on everything we've covered tonight. Links in the description, worth printing while you still can. Drop a comment. What's the one household item you'd add as number